writing Philomena. I would imagine it was a pretty daunting task originally to look at that story and say, well, I have to put believable dialogue into the mouth of this intellectual journalist and also into this common working class, lesser educated woman, and they have to be two separate people. And I think the big trap that a lot of screenwriters fall into, especially people who haven't written a ton, is every voice sounds like
the
their
same.
own.
Yeah, and lots of people all speak the same, and
Right.
and they can all, and suddenly everyone's super smart, and all the dialogue's super smart, and everyone's like super fast thinking. And you're like, why? Wow, this is, you know, it's like your head's spinning, and it can be really smart dialogue and entertaining dialogue, but there's something lacking truth.
Did you worry about that when you went into it?
No, because the only reason I didn't worry was, and I thought, it wasn't like I went, I want a good story, oh, that'll do. I thought, hang on a second, I know a bit about being a Catholic. I know a bit about journalism, and I know a lot of Irish working class women of a certain age. My grandparents are Irish, and the kind of folk wisdom of working class people where there's an eloquence and a brevity in their expression. I remember I was going through some personal crisis years ago, and I was getting all this advice, and I maybe saw a therapist, and lots of smart people would say, this, you need to do that, you need to do this, da, da, da. Lots of different complex, sophisticated advice. And I remember my grandmother said, when I was feeling sad, she said, it's like a cloud, it'll pass, right? And I remember thinking, wow, that's the first thing that someone said to me that's actually made me feel better, because it seemed so simple. And there's a sort of an innate truthfulness in a sort of working class wisdom that transcends and cuts through a lot of supposedly enlightened intellectual thinking. And I knew that, and I thought if I can get, and the same generation of Irish women who would have that wisdom would also say really stupid things that will make you laugh.
Right,
And I wasn't afraid of having the old Irish working class women say daft, as we say, daft is like say stupid things sometimes. Things that are a little just simplistic.
You're talking about a balance, because if it was a whole script full of old Irish wisdom,
I know, yeah.
without the daft stuff,
Yeah.
then she wouldn't seem real.
Exactly, and it's like, and what was good about that is you can lure the audience into making a judgment about someone and then throw it back in their face and say, you thought you knew who she was, well, you didn't. I remember I was on a subway once. It was a really hot day and there was no AC, and there was a guy opposite me, and he's someone who I made a judgment about. Not the normal kind of judgment, like most people make judgments about hobos. I'm the opposite. I see a guy in a pinstripe suit with an attaché case, a tailor-made suit, a very nice silk tie, a silk handkerchief, and he's very expensively dressed.
You're like, wanker.
And I thought, yeah, that guy's a wanker. That guy shafts people for a living. He f***s them over, and that's why he's wealthy. He's a
Yeah.
There was a guy in between the carriages, and he was dressed in the way of someone I thought maybe more like my, you know, he had a green camouflage jacket on, jeans and boots. He had badges on, protest badges, and he had a beard and a little scruffy, but he was standing there, and a baby was crying very loudly. And this guy, the kind of peace-nicky guy, suddenly screamed, "Shut that baby up! Right? Shut him up!" And the guy in the pinstripe suit said, "Hey, excuse me," he said, "none of us want to be here. It's very hot. The woman can't control a baby. That's why a baby cries. We're all putting up with it. If you don't like it, I suggest you move to another carriage. But don't blame a young mother because her baby's crying and she can't control it." And everyone broke into a round of applause, because this guy in the suit opposite me had stood up for this young woman with her crying baby. And I remember thinking, you'd made a judgment about that guy. Based on your limited knowledge of him, and decided you knew exactly who he was, and you didn't. And that stayed with me. And when I come to write now, like that idea of self-doubt or challenging your own point of view in the way you write is good, because when you have to do that, if you create dialogue between two people who have different points of view, you can't caricature one of those points of view. You have to understand the person who you might usually disagree with.
Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you like what you just saw, then why not subscribe? Click right here for lots more off camera. And if you want to see the hour-long version of these conversations, I'm going to give you the secret link. Here it is, offcamera.com. Check it out.